In a rapidly changing world, President Trump once again demonstrates his strong and decisive leadership style. From redefining the relationship with Ukraine, to protecting fairness in women's sports, to potentially restructuring America's commitment to NATO, these policies will have profound impacts on both the international and domestic political landscape. Let's analyze each of these developments in detail. 1. President Trump's ultimatum to Ukraine. In a notable development, President Trump has given Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky one final opportunity. The conditions are clear. Zelensky must appear on television, publicly apologize to President Trump, and send a delegation to Washington to sign a treaty. This isn't merely a matter of routine diplomacy. This action reflects the America First philosophy that President Trump has consistently pursued throughout his political career. From a geopolitical perspective, this is a smart move for several reasons. First, it forces Ukraine to publicly acknowledge America's upper hand in the bilateral relationship. This reaffirms the United States' superpower status on the international stage. Second, it puts Ukraine in a position where they must negotiate with the U.S. from the position of an aid recipient, not as an equal. This is a move to readjust a relationship in which, under the previous administration, Ukraine was given too many privileges without sufficient responsibilities. Third, and most importantly, sources indicate that President Trump and his cabinet have reached consensus on cutting all aid to Ukraine if there is no change within the next 24 hours. This is particularly significant considering that Ukrainian military salaries, civil servant wages, pensions, Social Security, and humanitarian relief are all being paid from U.S. aid budget and USAID. This is a decisive move, reflecting President Trump's commitment to protecting American taxpayers' interests. Millions in foreign aid must come with clear accountability, a core principle that the new administration is restoring. 2. Protecting fairness in women's sports. The battle continues. The second news item relates to an important domestic issue: President Trump's efforts to protect the rights of female athletes in sports. The law prohibiting biological males from competing in women's sports proposed by President Trump did not pass the Senate, with all Democratic senators voting against it. This is clear evidence of the value difference between the two parties. On one side is the Trump administration, working to protect women's rights to compete on a fair playing field, based on basic science and biology. On the other side are Democratic senators who seem willing to sacrifice sports fairness and female athletes' achievements for an ideological agenda. Scientific studies have repeatedly demonstrated that even after hormone treatment, people born male maintain significant biological advantages over biological women. This isn't about politics, it's about fairness and the integrity of women's sports. Despite this temporary defeat in the Senate, the battle is not over. Sources from the White House indicate that President Trump is considering executive measures to protect women's sports, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to this issue. The relationship with NATO. Time for reassessment. The third news item is perhaps the most geopolitically significant. According to reliable sources, if there is no significant change in the next 24 hours, President Trump is expected to address U.S. withdrawal from NATO in his upcoming State of the Union address. This is a historic moment. NATO, established to counter the Soviet Union during the Cold War, has existed for over 70 years. However, President Trump has long criticized the imbalance in financial commitments between the U.S. and European NATO members. Let's look at the numbers. The U.S. spends approximately 3.5% of GDP on defense, while many European NATO allies fail to meet the minimum 2% threshold they committed to. Essentially, American taxpayers are subsidizing European security, while many of these countries maintain extensive social welfare programs and even continue economic dealings with America's competitors. President Trump's move should not be understood as an abandonment of collective security, but as an assertive negotiation strategy to force allies to be more responsible. This is a bold but necessary step to rebalance the transatlantic relationship and ensure that the burden is shared fairly. These three events, when considered together, signal a fundamental shift in U.S. foreign policy. Under President Trump's leadership, America is returning to an America First policy, not America alone, but America Smart. This is about protecting national interests, ensuring burdens are shared fairly, and continuously negotiating to get the best deal for the American people. In the coming weeks and months, we can expect to see more bold moves from the Trump administration as he continues to implement the policies promised during his campaign. Whether you agree with the specific decisions or not, there's no denying that we are witnessing one of the most decisive presidents in modern American history. Thank you for following our in-depth analysis. Don't forget to leave your comments with your opinions and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our latest analyses. See you in the next update.